Hey guys, today we're going to be inspired by the book Applesauce Season by Eden Ross Lipson. Applesauce season starts just about the time school opens, when it is still hot and summery but vacation is over. One day Grandma says, "It's time for applesauce." We live in the city. There are no apple trees, but there are farmers markets where there are lots of apples. Sometimes my grandmother goes into the market. Sometimes my mom and dad go. Sometimes my big sisters. If I don't have soccer, I go too. I love apple names. In our markets first come Ida Red and Paula Red, 20-ounce and Macintosh, Ginger Gold and Jonna Gold. Later there's McCowan, Baldwin, Northern Spy, and King David, and after that come Winesap and Black Twig and Mutsu's mother. And there are lots of others. We buy 6 pounds of apples for sauce because that's just how much our sauce pot holds, and we buy as many more for what Grandma calls eating out of hand. When we get home, the sauce apples are dumped in the kitchen sink and washed. I stand on the stepladder right next to the counter where the grown-ups chop the apples and choose which ones to cut up first. Sometimes I say, put in the little ones, sometimes the big ones, sometimes the dark red or yellow ones. My grandmother says there have to be at least 3 kinds in each pot of sauce for real flavor, but sometimes we use more, one of this and one of that too. That's why our applesauce is different every week. As one kind of apple disappears, another takes its place. Mom cuts them into quarters. Grandma cuts them into 6. I don't know why. The apples go into the pot, skin, seeds, and all. When it is still summer and there's no cider yet, we add a glass of water or juice so the apples won't burn when they cook. Later, we add fresh cider. It doesn't take long for the apples to be soft and bubbly and start to smell good. The first time we make sauce, we make fresh cinnamon sugar too. I put sugar in a pretty jar, add some dark brown ground cinnamon, put the lid on tight, and shake till the sugar turns pale brown. When the apples are all soft, a grown-up turns off the stove and opens the pot to let the mush cool a bit while I go and get the food mill. We put the hooks on the bottom of the mill on top of a big bowl and carefully put the warm cooked apples into it. We grind and scrape till all the apples have gone through the bowl below. And all that's left in the mill is the small clump of cooked skins and cores and seeds. Then I put in some of the cinnamon sugar. Not much, just a little. Mom puts in a little slice of butter about the size of the tip of her pinky finger, and Grandma adds a tiny bit of salt. We taste till it tastes right, and then it cools some more and thickens. Then it's ready. Daddy doesn't make applesauce. He makes good things to go with it, like potato pancakes, or for special mornings, fancy thin pancakes called crepes. He puts it with roasts, and if there's any left at the end of the week, he uses it in a cake that's very good for snacking. We celebrate the first sauce of the season. My big sisters and the grown-ups, sometimes the neighbors too, all sit at the table. We wait until everyone is served. I get a special cup, and then make a good wish for the rest of the season. We eat applesauce plain, or with ice cream, or cottage cheese, or gingerbread, or cookies, or sliced bananas. The color and the thickness and the taste of the sauce changes every single week. Sometimes it's pink and very sweet. Sometimes it's pale brown and a little dry, so we add some more cider. Later, toward Thanksgiving, it's usually yellow. It is always delicious. By December, there are no more new kinds of apples, so we stop making sauce and just eat them. There are other things to do with apples. My grandpa didn't like birthday cake, so he always had apple pie. We remember his birthday by having apple pie with ice cream and a candle on top. Grandpa always saved a piece of that pie for his breakfast to eat with sharp yellow cheese. Daddy sometimes has that too. Apple pie is good, but I still like applesauce best. Maybe I'll change my mind when I grow up. Now, I hope you're as inspired to make applesauce as I am after that book. I've made applesauce a lot of times, but I never served it with cottage cheese. So whether you've never made it before, whether you've made it 100 times, I think there's something new that we can get from this story. Now, it's true that applesauce is best if you use a lot of kind of apples. But it's okay if you just want to buy a 3-pound bag from the grocery store and use just one kind. Just make sure it has a sweet and sour, tart kind of flavor. A Crispin, a whole bag of Crispins, is not going to make you happy applesauce. It's going to lack flavor. They're crispy, and when you cook them, they're not crispy anymore, and they lost their best quality. They're not really great applesauce ones. But if you grab a bag of Empires or Cortlands, it can be good. Okay, every apple in this bowl is probably a different kind, and I don't even remember what they all are, but I have yellow ones. I have tiny ones. I have sort of orangey ones. And red ones. If you want pink applesauce and you have a food mill, it's going to be pink if you put the red skins in and then the skins come out like we read in the book. I don't have a food mill. I'm just going to peel them and quarter them and break them up with a spoon as they cook. And then I'll have chunky applesauce, which is my favorite. I also have little brown ones. And I have gigantic ones. I have every kind. I am going to use 6 pounds of apples. And I'm going to put in a cup of apple cider. Just like in the book, if you don't have cider, you can put in water. It's still going to be great. If you don't want to make enough to freeze or have all week, you can use 3 pounds. Or you can use 1 pound, which is about 3 apples. And then just put in like a couple tablespoons of cider. You'll have enough for 1 meal, and you'll get to have the fun of doing something seasonal. I'm going to peel and cut up these apples, and I'll be back. Now I've got my giant pot of apples all peeled and cut up. I'm just going to cook apples and apple cider. That's my favorite kind. But after it's cooked, you can put in some sugar if you like. And then if you taste it and say, oh, that's too sweet, you can put in some lemon juice and balance it back out. You can put in cinnamon, or you can put in pumpkin pie spice. You can do anything you want because it's your recipe. This is just an inspiration. You don't have to make a pot this big, but that's kind of fun and satisfying. You can make a little tiny pot. You can microwave it. If you just want to make 1 apple, cut it up, put a little apple cider in there, and microwave it till it's mushy. Mush it up with a fork and say, happy fall to yourself. Celebrate applesauce season, and I look forward to seeing you at the library.